You ever notice how the cruelest people in your life sometimes give you the greatest gifts? Not intentionally, not lovingly, but through sheer, unfiltered venom that wakes something inside you that was sleeping. My Aunt Anne did that for me, and now she watches my success from the cheap seats. My name is Victoria Fredricks, and my father, Steve, was the best man I've ever known. He was the firstborn, supposed to be the family pillar, the one everyone leaned on, and God did he try. Every holiday, every birthday, every family crisis, Dad showed up, mediated fights, loaned money he didn't have, organized reunions nobody appreciated, but he had one unforgivable sin in my family's eyes. He was broke. Dad worked construction. Mom was a teacher's aide. We lived in a small 2-bedroom house with peeling paint in a lawn Dad mowed himself every Saturday. We weren't starving, but we weren't thriving either. Meanwhile, Uncle Moses, Dad's younger brother, was thriving. Frederick's automotive empire, luxury estates, cars that cost more than our house. And my grandmother and Aunt Anne, they treated Moses like he walked on water and Dad like he tracked in mud, every single time. Family gatherings were torture. Grandma would hug Moses for 5 full minutes, kiss his face and call him my successful boy, my pride and joy, with big smiles on her face. Dad got a pat on the shoulder. "Oh, Steve, you're here." Aunt Anne, Dad's only sister, was even worse. She married rich, lived in Moses's neighborhood, and made sure everyone knew she'd made it out. At Thanksgiving, she'd say things like, "Steve, still doing that manual labor thing? When are you going to get a real career?" Dad would smile, force it. "Construction's honest work, Anne. Honest and broke are 2 different things, big brother." Moses would laugh, Grandma would change the subject, and Dad would shrink a little more each time, and I had to witness that embarrassment as a child in every family gathering. I hated it. But me, I adored my father. He taught me to ride a bike, helped with homework even when he was exhausted, told me every single day, "Vicky, you're going to do amazing things. I believe in you." He was my hero. Uncle Moses's daughter, Charlize, was my age, and shockingly, she was nothing like her dad or Aunt Anne. We became inseparable at 13. She'd sneak me into her private school parties. We'd share clothes, secrets, dreams. She never made me feel less because of money. "Your dad's cool," she'd tell me. "Mine just throws money at problems." I loved her for that. For 3 years, Charlize was my escape from the family dynamics, my proof that not all Fredericks were cruel, until the day Aunt Anne reminded me exactly who I was in their eyes. I was 16, at Grandma's house for Moses's birthday party. Charlize and I were laughing in the kitchen, planning a movie night, when Aunt Anne walked in. She looked at me, really looked at me, with this expression I'll never forget, disgust mixed with pity. "Victoria?" "Yes, Aunt Anne?" She leaned against the counter, wineglass in hand. "You'd best start taking your studies seriously and stop messing about with boys, unless you fancy ending up penniless and utterly wretched like your father. Who knows, maybe you'd always come asking Charlize for money." The room went silent. Charlize's face went pale. "Oh, God, Aunt Anne, how could you say that?" "I'm serious," Aunt Anne cuts in. Her eyes didn't leave 9. "I've seen how this goes, sweetheart. Poor families stay poor. Your father's a cautionary tale. Don't follow him." Wretched? She called my father, the man who held his family together with duct tape and hope, utterly wretched. I didn't cry, didn't yell. I just smiled. "Thank you, Aunt Anne. I'll always remember this." I left that party with a heavy heart and never went back. Cut off the extended family completely. Charlize tried to reach out, but I ignored her. It wasn't her fault, but I couldn't separate her from them anymore. I poured everything into school, got a full scholarship to college, studied media, marketing, psychology, but my real education, YouTube. I started a channel at 17, talking about growing up poor in a wealthy family, about class shaming, about being underestimated. People related. I posted constantly, learned SEO, collaborated, diversified into podcasts, brand deals, speaking engagements. By 23, I'd hit 1 million subscribers. By 26, 5 million, and a net worth that made Moses look like he was playing with Monopoly money. Forbes called me the voice of a generation. Aunt Anne's words played in my head every single day. Wretched, broke, begging for handouts. I used them like rocket fuel. Last year, Grandma got sick. The family organized a reunion to come together. Aunt Anne called. First time in 11 years. "Victoria, darling, we've missed you so much. Grandma would love to see you." I showed up in a car that cost more than her house. The look on her face when I walked in, priceless. Moses tried the uncle routine. "Vicky, look at my niece, my successful niece. I always knew." "No, you didn't," I interrupted sharply and smiled. "You knew I was Steve Fredricks' daughter. That was enough for you to write me off, dear uncle." Silence. I turned to Aunt Anne. You told me I'd end up wretched like my dad, begging Charlize for handouts." Her face went red. "Victoria, dear, that was a long—" I cut in sharply again, because that sentence, that one moment, it built everything I am today. Every deal I've closed, every stage I've stood on, every pound I've made. I heard your voice, and it made me work harder. I looked around the room. My father was never wretched. He was rich in every way that mattered. He taught me kindness, resilience, integrity, things Moses's money never bought, things you never valued. And now I have both, the wealth you worshipped and the character you mocked. I pulled out an envelope from my Birkin bag, set it on the table. That's a check for Dan's dream, the community center he always wanted to build, fully funded. His name on the building. Tears filled Dad's eyes. And Aunt Anne, you'll never have to worry about me begging handouts, because Charlize works for me now, head of my marketing team, making 6 figures, because I don't judge people by their aunts' or parents' bank accounts. Anne looked like she'd been slapped, just the look I'd wanted to see. I hugged my dad, kissed Grandma's forehead, and walked out. My father died 2 years ago, prostate cancer, but he lived long enough to see the community center, his name in bronze letters. At the opening, he held my hand and whispered, "I always knew you'd do amazing things." "I taught you how, Dad." Aunt Anne still sends messages, asking for advice, opportunities, connections. I leave them on read, not out of cruelty, but out of boundaries. She taught me what I didn't want to be. Dad taught me who I am, and that's the revenge she'll never understand.